Welcome to Priceless Takes.
And we are live from the Gold Coast, Australia. Welcome back, everyone, to Priceless Takes, episode 49. Yeah, that is what we're up to, episode 49. Joining me today is the NFL guru himself, David Price. David, how are you today?
I'm still in mourning.
Look, you're still in mourning, and
I'm very upset. I'm having bad dreams. I can't sleep.
look, I mean, if I were in your shoes, David, I'd probably feel the same way. But at the end of the day, greatness is just greatness. I don't know what else to tell you.
Look, I tipped San Francisco at the start of the season. They were terrible odds at $7. Then I tipped everybody the Bills at $34. And my man Josh, I rang him after the game and I said, "Josh, how you feeling?" He said, "Man, I'm upset." I said, "I know." I said, "We've got to get rid of McDermott." He said, "I know. How do we get rid of him?" And I said, "Well, that's how you're going to have a dynasty. Let's get Belichick in there and have a dynasty, and Josh can win 3 of the next 5 Super Bowls with Belichick. McDermott has to go."
Listen, we will start with that game, David, but before we talk about the Buffalo Bills' big picture, I do want to talk about another excruciating playoff loss they suffered this weekend at Orchard Park in Buffalo to one Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs beat the Bills in a thriller, 27-24. Now Patrick Mahomes is 3-0 all time against Josh Allen in the playoffs. Josh Allen for this game, 26 of 39 completions for 186 yards and 1 passing touchdown. He also added 72 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns on top of that performance. Mahomes, 17 of 23, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, both to Travis Kelce, who had 75 receiving yards on the day. But the story of the game, David, 1:47 to go in the fourth quarter. Tyler Bass, the Buffalo Bills kicker, steps out for a 44-yard field goal attempt to put the game into potential overtime and misses wide right, therefore sealing the Kansas City Chiefs' victory. David, a lot happened in this game besides that field goal, in my opinion. But what do you think was the biggest reason the Chiefs came away with the win on Sunday?
One word only, or 2 words: Patrick
And that is?
Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes. You know, I wear his T-shirt to bed as my pajama top. He's a true champion of the game, and he'll go down as one of the all-time greats. He played the game of his life. He's the Iceman. He lifts guys. He's a true out-and-out champion. The way he got up and down the field so quickly and created so many opportunities. He ran the ball. He's just got ice running through his veins, that guy. He just doesn't make a mistake. He seems like a nice guy. I don't have a direct line like I do to Josh, but he seems like a ripping bloke. And Patrick Mahomes won the game. That was simple as that. And the Bills, depending on how you look at it, may have lost the game. You know, Diggs' 2 drop catches, Bass missing the field goal. The Bills had every opportunity to win. Josh played a 10 out of 10 game. I don't care if you don't like him. He played the game of his life, and he showed that he's up there with Patrick Mahomes. And if he got Belichick as the coach, he'd be up there with Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes in the last era as just true champions of the game. Got to get rid of McDermott. But well done to Mahomes. Good on him. He led that team. That team's inferior to the 2 teams he's normally playing with, and he's carried them all year and continues to carry them. Phenomenal performance.
Yeah, listen, David, I cannot believe the Buffalo Bills let this game slip, if I'm being completely honest with you. There's just so many things to look at. The one thing I've been hearing from the Bills sideline is we can't play them in Arrowhead. We want them in our house. We want them to come to Buffalo and see what it's really like. And you know what they got? They got Mahomes to Buffalo. You know who else was in Buffalo last year, David? Joe Burrow. 2 consecutive years they had a divisional round home playoff game and they lost both of them. So whoever you want to blame, I don't care. But I think there's a lot of blame. I think there's a lot of blame to be passed around. I look at Stephon Diggs. If you are that guy, which you are, you need to make that catch. That was a flat out drop. Okay? And Stephon Diggs has always been a media moaner and groaner. He has always had frustrations, David. And when the Bills come short, he's always pouting because that's what he does. But you know what he did this year, David? He's saying now that he's committed to the team because it was him who made the mistake this time. So he cannot pout and moan apart from anyone but himself that he has to look at. But that's besides the point, David, because as much as you give your man Josh Allen credit, he had a chance to go win this game, and instead they settled for a field goal, David. I understand he had a great game overall, okay? But in the biggest moments, Josh Allen could not deliver, and that is the matter of the situation, and you can't argue me on that. Two straight incompletions leading to the Tyler Bass field goal, two straight incompletions that Josh Allen had, and that's your ball game right there. On top of a array of other things, David, out of his 26 completed passes, 16 of those were thrown backwards. They were screen passes. He only had 10 completed passes that actually went forwards the entire game. Because what Joe Brady, the interim offensive coordinator, has done, he has said that we're going to turn Josh Allen into a quarterback, that we don't put pressure on him, and we utilize his legs, and we give him easy check down passes. But in fairness to Josh Allen, if his receivers made plays, we could potentially be having a different discussion. At the end of the day, all I do know is that the Mahomes did get bailed out because I wanted Mahomes to go down with 1:40 to go and put the Chiefs on his back like he had done throughout the game and go rip Josh Allen's heart out in front of that home crowd. But David, the one thing that I will fight Josh Allen on is he had a chance to score a touchdown to win the game and leave no time on the clock for Patrick Mahomes to come back and win. And as much as he played well in other parts of the game, he could not do that. And if he was able to do that, the Bills would have walked out of there with a win. And unfortunately, they relied on the field goal kicker. And I have been very harsh on Josh Allen, but the one theme that consistently is coming up, David, the one theme that keeps coming up is that Josh Allen puts his destiny in the hands of others. And this is a chance that he had his turn to put his destiny in his own hands. And he said, Tyler, you go kick the field goal. I couldn't go score a touchdown and win us the game. And at the end of the day, it's harsh, but that is what happened, David. Josh Allen had the perfect chance to win this game. I'll read off some stats for you, David. The Bills had 182 rushing yards.
Before you read off some stats, for our American viewers, a lot of what you just said is horse shit.
David, we'll ask you to watch your language. We are a family-friendly show, but please elaborate on why you think that is the case.
Is it a team game, Luka?
Yes, it is a team game.
Right. So the best team won on the night because the Bills made too many mistakes. You can't put it on Josh. You put it on McDermott and the other guys that made mistakes. Josh Allen played a ripping game and proved himself in the biggest moments, okay? It was coach's error and other players' errors, not Josh, okay? Just because you've got a man crush on Joe Burrows, you can't bag Josh.
Listen, David, I'm assuming you watched every snap of that game, but I saw on a second and nine, Josh Allen tried to find someone in the end zone instead of giving it to Stephon Diggs, who was wide open right in his lap, and he decided, no, I'm going to be a hero and throw it into the end zone instead of taking the easy pass, which is what he did the whole game. He took the correct plays that he was supposed to make, and when he needed to throw the deep ball, he did, and unfortunately, the receivers dropped the ball. But I don't really want to hear about that because there were so many times this year, David, where we were bagging the Kansas City Chiefs offense because Mahomes' receivers dropped the ball. And that happened throughout the year, okay? So that at the end of the day, it comes down to who was the better prepared team. And if you want to blame that on McDermott, sure, you can blame that on McDermott, but I blame that on Josh as the on-field leader of this team. He needs to make sure...
McDermott couldn't coach an under-10s softball team, a baseball team, whatever you want to call it in America. In Australia, we'd call it a netball team, an under-10s team to win a junior high school game. That's how bad McDermott is.
Listen, David, at the end of the day, the Chiefs should have won this game by 10 points. And I told you they were going to win this game by 10 points. Listen, the one thing I
I
will
thought
bag
they'd win as
McDermott on,
well. I
the
thought
one
they'd win
thing,
as well, but
the one,
it
yeah,
wasn't Josh's
well,
fault.
Well, listen. The one thing I will bag McDermott on is that fake punt at the start of the fourth quarter was absolutely atrocious, and that should cost him his job because he gave the Kansas City Chiefs basically a touchdown, which the Bills defense made a huge play, forcing a fumble on the 1 yard
Hmm.
line and giving Josh a chance to win the game. But you know what else Josh did before those two incompletions and that missed field goal? He had a fumble which should have been recovered by the Chiefs, but his tight end made an incredible play to smash the ball out of the Chiefs player's hands, and then the offensive lineman came under the ball. If Josh Allen had have fumbled that ball, that would have been the end of him, but he got bailed out by his teammates, and then he also got bailed out by his teammates when Kansas City didn't score a touchdown and went up by 10 points. 2 instances in the fourth quarter, he got bailed out, but he could not make the play at the end of the game, and he asked his field goal kicker to bail him out and force it into overtime.
It's
3
it's
plays
it's
I've just given you, David.
it's coach's error, Luca. Put Belichick in
Sure.
there, and you'll see a dynasty.
Look, it could be coach's error, but listen, David, like I said, the Bills had 182 rushing yards to Kansas City 146. The Bills had the ball for 37 minutes of the game to Kansas City's 23. The Bills nearly had the ball for 2/3 of the entire game, David. They had 78 total plays to Kansas City's 47. They controlled the game. They controlled the clock, except for when it mattered most. And this is something that we always see with the Bills. David, I want to ask you this question, okay? Who do you think had a better game out of Josh Allen and Brock Purdy?
Oh, that's easy. Purdy got the yips up and shit his pants in the first 3 quarters
So you're saying you said Josh Allen had a better game?
by a country mile.
Okay, that's all fine and well. But what I want to ask you is, when you think about who had a better game, look at which quarterback, when their team needed them to go down the field and score a touchdown, one quarterback did that and one quarterback did not. And that is what I keep
Well,
saying about Josh Allen. When the moment is the biggest, he always falls flat. And you cannot argue me
you
on that.
are kidding. You are kidding yourself, right? Brock Purdy walked out. He pooed his pants. He had to go and have change his pants, right? He was that nervous. He was crying because it was raining. He put gloves on, gloves off. He didn't know what he was doing. He's got the best defense in the league. And if Josh Allen had that defense, he would have won Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl. Brock Purdy, he needs to go and get some psychiatrist help before next weekend and the Super Bowl because he's got the yips. He's just got a great defense that keeps making him look okay. He's no good at all, Purdy. He
Yeah,
cried.
well,
Did you see? Did you see the
Josh,
tears running down his face when it was crying? He's looking up, going, "Oh no, it's crying. I can't throw the ball." You don't see my tough man, Superman, Josh doing that.
Yeah, well, Josh's defense that isn't any good apparently, which is a top 10 defense in the league, even with all their injuries, gave him the ball with 5 minutes to go and said, "Go score us a touchdown, Josh." And Josh said, "No, I'm not going to go score you a
Purdy only
touchdown."
got the Purdy only got the confidence in the last quarter because his defense was he knew that if he could only throw a couple of passes. He didn't throw a pass in the first 3 quarters. He got confidence from his defense because they're so good. That defense was phenomenal. They should have got blown off the park because of Purdy's
Listen,
poor play.
listen, I just want to
You've
clarify,
got to ease
David.
up on Josh Allen because
Brock,
you go. We're going to go back to this episode. If they get rid of McDermott, I want you to remember episode 49. I will not forget it because Josh Allen has got many Super Bowls in him with a different coach, and we'll come
listen,
back to this.
I
We'll
agree
come
with
back
you.
to this every year. Every year we'll come back to this and say, Luca, you were wrong. You were wrong. You were wrong. David, you were right again, David, because Josh Allen is a superstar, not Brock Purdy.
Listen, well, for a superstar, he's 0-4 against Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, and he's 5-1 against everyone else. So look, when he versus the best competition, he can't seem to win. That's all I'm seeing right now, David. That's the stat. The numbers are the numbers. Numbers do not lie. The numbers do not lie. David, let me just go for you.
I'm coming to the Gold Coast. Last year, I'm
David,
coming to the Gold Coast, and we're going to get a Josh Allen jersey for you so you can wear it every episode next year.
David, let me just put things into perspective for you, okay? The Buffalo Bills had 3 drives. The last 3 times the Buffalo Bills got the ball in this ball game, David, they turned the ball over on downs, they punted the ball, and they missed the field goal. That's all I have to leave you with on the last 3 drives. Turnover on downs, punt, missed field goal. Okay? Some of the blame's
Look,
got
I'll
to
tell
fall
you
on
how
Josh
good.
Allen.
None of the blame. Josh Allen in the press conference. Did you watch the press conference?
I did.
Or were you too busy hanging out with your girlfriend?
I did watch the press conference, actually.
Right, well, I watched it, and Josh was so diplomatic. He said the poor old Bass, that wasn't his fault. It was a team game. Okay? Now,
Because
me,
deep down, he knows that he could have done better.
I would have sacked Bass when he walked off. I would have said, "You're fired," like Donald Trump. And I would have walked over to McDermott and I said, "You can pack your bags too. You're both out of here." Because Bass just can't miss that from 44 yards. I don't care what pressure. They get paid millions and millions and millions of dollars, right? You got to make those.
Listen, David, look, next steps for the Bills from here. You obviously like Belichick as the coach. I think we can debate that at another time because we are pressed for time here. I would love to see the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson get the job because he has done an outstanding job with Jared Goff this year. And I think that if you put him with Josh Allen, who's a much more talented quarterback than Jared Goff, I think Josh Allen needs an offensive-minded coach who is going to step up his game to the next level and provide that comfort for him, which I don't think McDermott provides. And I'm not sure Belichick would provide necessarily. I think he could, but I think an offensive mind, a young offensive mind, like the Detroit Lions, Ben Johnson, he's one of the hottest names on the market. And I think there's a reason for that because turning around Jared Goff is no easy feat. And Josh Allen is far better than Jared Goff, and I think would really unlock his full potential.
Look, Johnson is a good option, but he is young. And I think Josh Allen needs an older guy, a mentor like Belichick because of the success he had with Brady. Now, everyone thought it was Belichick that made Brady, okay? And then Brady left and took a very average Tampa Bay Buccaneers to a Super Bowl, which just blew my mind that Brady could actually do that, okay? So that's why I want Belichick to go there. Johnson, yeah, I like. He's done an amazing job with Goff because Goff was shattered when he left the Rams. As much as I like McVay, he broke Goff, and so did the whole administration at the Rams. Goff was a broken man. They've done a wonderful job with Goff, no question. But the Lions have outcoached the teams they've played to get as far as what they've got. That's the only reason. Because Goff is still flawed, even though he's improved. We can talk about that a little bit later in our last segment.
We will talk about that a bit later. But listen, David, once these playoffs unfold, I'm assuming we won't hear much news out of the Bills camp until the playoffs are over regarding the status of Sean McDermott, regarding the status of Stephon Diggs, who I think they should trade away. But we are going to have to switch gears to the other AFC game on the weekend, which was the Houston Texans traveling to Baltimore to get absolutely romped by the Ravens. 34-10. Lamar gets that playoff victory, which everyone was longing for. I wonder if you are convinced, David. Lamar Jackson was 16 of 22, 152 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. He capped off 100 yards rushing on top of that with 2 more rushing touchdowns. CJ Stroud, 19 of 33 for 175 yards, 0 touchdowns. The Texans had 38 rush yards for the entire game. The Baltimore Ravens, David, had 229. Listen, it was 10-10 at halftime. The Texans had a great punt return touchdown that they scored to level it up 10-10. They were outscored 21-0 by the Ravens in the second half. David, has Lamar left his playoff woes behind?
Not yet. Lamar, in my opinion, is always flawed. He's got a dodgy arm. Okay, his running game, I believe, is the best in the NFL. Better than Josh, better than Mahomes, right? It's the best. But his arm, he's obviously done a lot of work in the off-season because his arm has improved, not 10, 20, 30, 40. It's improved 100%. Lamar has really improved. But, in my opinion, he was nervous in that first half. And the Texans had a wonderful year. It's an absolute credit to the Texans and the CJ. They played out of their skin and they came from nowhere. And all credit to them for a wonderful year. Hopefully they can back it up in their second year. Certainly in their third year, they'll be Super Bowl contenders, if not next year. But it's just always hard coming off that first year because everyone's more prepared for them this year. They flew under the radar for a long time. But the Texans are out on their feet. The Texans are out on their feet. They could not possibly win that game. The Ravens were well rested. Lamar's improved. That was a great effort. That first half worried me about Lamar. Okay? Now, how's he going to go against the Iceman, Mahomes? And how's his nerves going to be? If he plays Purdy, which I think he will in the Super Bowl, then they're both going to be as nervous as each other. And it'll just be who makes the least mistakes, which gives San Francisco an edge because their defense is so good. But that's another topic for next week. So, yes, Lamar had a great second half once he settled down, but the Texans were gone. So, no, I'm not convinced on Lamar. Yes, he had a great game, but I want to see him win a Super Bowl before I say he's worth that $50 million a year because the jury's out for me. What do you
listen,
think?
I agree. The Ravens are Super Bowl or bust, and they've been that way for quite some time. And I think a loss next week, even if it's an excruciating loss and it's a close game, it's still not good enough because you're at home. You have Mahomes because, David, we don't know how much better Kansas City are going to get. Mahomes just had 5 straight AFC Championship games at Kansas City until this point. For all we know, this could be a very rare occasion where you get Patrick Mahomes coming to your building in the playoffs. We don't know when the next time this could happen. So they need to make the most of this opportunity. When Mahomes has had historically one of the worst offenses, if not the worst offense he's had since he's been a Chief. However, the flip side is Mahomes has the best defense he's had since he has been the starting quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, before I had Kansas City. I have Kansas City going to the Super Bowl. For those of you who didn't see our Instagram post, I had Kansas City coming out of the AFC. David, you had the Ravens. Gabe, who's not with us, also had the Ravens. But I still believe that Lamar in this Texans game, the Texans, because the Ravens ran the ball so effectively, Lamar did not have the pressure on him like I believe he will have against playing Patrick Mahomes. Houston did not make Lamar beat him with his arm. And that is why I believe this potentially is a bit of a facade with this playoff game. And I do not think Lamar has truly been battle tested like I believe he will next week. Now, the thing that does worry me, David, is I did just see the Kansas City Chiefs give up 181 rushing yards to the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. Now, how I saw the Ravens run the ball, that does worry me a little bit when I look at this game. But I believe Kansas City will make the necessary adjustments. And I believe, although they did get run on for that crazy amount of yards, they still said to Josh Allen at the end of the game, you still need to beat me with your arm in order for you to come out of here with a win. And I believe that Kansas City will force Lamar to beat them with his arm, and I do not believe that Lamar Jackson will be able to do it. I don't care how good his throwing ability has gotten. I do not believe that he has the ability to do it. So I think that the Ravens need to come out and absolutely blow the roof off of that stadium if they want to have any chance of beating Kansas City. Because the way that I've seen Mahomes play the last 2 weeks, Lamar is going to have to play special despite how good his defense has been playing. Because I think Mahomes, he hits a different gear, and Lamar is going to have to take it to Patrick in order for them to win this game. I'm not convinced with the Ravens' performance against the Houston Texans.
You mightn't agree with me, but the coaching's very important here, okay? Now, I think McVay's the best coach in the NFL, but he completely stuffed up against the Lions, the game they should have won. McVay lost that game, okay? No question about it, and his coaching staff, because he does have a team. McVay lost it. Now, we're going to find out, a lot of people think Andy Reid's the best coach in the NFL at the moment, okay? Now, we're going to find out how good Andy Reid and his coaching team are. Because if they coach correctly and they stop Lamar's running game, then I agree with you, Kansas will win. But if they don't stop Lamar's running game and he gets his confidence up, then the Ravens can win. It's going to come down to the coaches, not the players.
I agree, and this is the thing, David. The playoff games we've seen Lamar lose, we've seen him go behind early, and this is going to be the big factor of the game: is how do the Ravens start? Because David, if the Kansas City Chiefs go up 10-0 or 14-0 and take it to the Ravens early, Lamar's not going to be able to run the ball. He's going to have to throw the ball because he's playing from behind. But when they're playing ahead, like they were for the whole second half, they are able to run the ball down your throats. So I
Hmm.
want because that's what happened last time Lamar had the 1 seed. Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry jumped him, put a lead on him early, and said throw the ball and beat us, and Lamar folded. Now if Patrick Mahomes can do the same, we're going to see very, very quickly in this game, if the Chiefs do get a lead, how Lamar's going to go playing from behind. They do look. I do think Lamar matches up very well. We saw in last season Mahomes did go to Baltimore and lose to Lamar in week 3 of the regular season. We did see that happen. So, you there, David?
Yes, Luca. I've got punters trying to call me for the Wednesday tips.
That's okay. We will go to a quick break just because I don't want the audio collapsing. We will be back in just a moment. And we are back. Thank you all for staying with us through that short break. Now, onto the NFC. We're going to switch gears here. The Packers and the 49ers. The 49ers edged out the Green Bay Packers in a 24-21 thriller. They've reached the NFC Championship game 3 years in a row and 4 out of the last 5. No Super Bowl rings yet to show for it, David. Brock Purdy, 23 of 39 on the game, 252 yards, 1 touchdown. Christian McCaffrey added another 98 yards rushing with 2 touchdowns. And George Kittle, 81 receiving yards and a touchdown. Jordan Love started off the game well, came down crashing at the end. 21 of 34 for the game, 194 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The Packers, David, led 21-14 going into the fourth quarter and had 0 points in the fourth quarter while San Francisco had 10. The big stat was Kyle Shanahan, the San Francisco coach, was 0-38 in his career while trailing by 7 points or more in the fourth quarter. He now changes that to 1-38 with this win. Field goal kickers letting down teams, David, a common theme this postseason. Packers kicker Anders Carlson missed a field goal with 6:18 left to go in the fourth quarter to give Green Bay a 24-27 lead. Instead, the game is 21-17. Purdy goes down, scores what would be the game-winning touchdown, and then Jordan Love with the interception at the end, David. What a game this was. This was an absolute thriller. We've seen some Green Bay San Francisco playoff games in the past be close. We've seen some blowouts with a bunch of different quarterbacks, from Aaron Rodgers and Jimmy Garoppolo to now Purdy and Love. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you think the 49ers deserved to win this game?
Luca, I'm on the 49ers for a house to win the NFC Championship. That was one of the ugliest wins I've seen all season. The 49ers defense was the best I've ever seen them play. Credit to Green Bay, young team, first-year quarterback. They had a great season, and well done to them. They came from nowhere. They've got a lot to look forward to moving forward. It was an exciting year for both them and the Texans and the young quarterbacks, coming in. Look, I said what I said about Brock Purdy before. I'm not convinced Brock Purdy's got it whatsoever. He had a shocking game. They should have been down who knows what, and it would have been impossible for them to come back. How many times they stopped them in the red zone was absolutely phenomenal. And I was just banging the couch and yelling and screaming because it was just ridiculous how bad that the 49ers were playing. So Brock Purdy, in my opinion, got very lucky. He plays that way against the Lions. Lions are so bad. Who knows what will happen? But I don't know. Brock Purdy needs to go and see a psychiatrist seriously because he had the yips, the wonks, couldn't throw the ball. Like, he was absolutely awful, and they were so lucky to get out of jail. Maybe I've seen it before. A team that has a very, very ugly win like that goes right on with it now because that's a bad game. They had to get out of their way. Maybe that's the case, and they go on because the defense is so good. But Purdy won't want any rain. He shouldn't get any rain in Las Vegas because it never rains there. So he should be right. They've got a home final this week. I haven't checked the forecast yet, but he doesn't like the rain. He's like some women when the hair goes curly. It's like some women when the hair goes curly. That'll get the wokers going, me saying that. But look, they got up, and great teams win in ugly circumstances and in tight games. Great teams come through. Green Bay was just too early for them again. So San Francisco got very lucky.
So, David, my next question to you, which I'm assuming is a no, my question would be, did Brock Purdy silence the criticism that he's been receiving all season?
No, and he deserves more.
He deserves more. Listen, well, we have
Nappy out. He needs a nappy out there so he doesn't have to change his pants.
Listen, we have two very, very different viewpoints on this game because it wasn't pretty, but Brock Purdy did what he needed to do to come out with a win. I saw him throw an absolute bomb of a touchdown to George Kittle in the first quarter. So I understand he was making some throws that were very interceptable throws, but he still did that, David. Then on the final drive, we talk about quarterbacks. We talk about the whole criticism on Brock Purdy this whole season has been San Francisco haven't been down. Brock Purdy plays with a lead, and he's a game manager. He hasn't had the chance to play from behind and go down the field and score a game-winning touchdown, David. You know what I saw Brock Purdy do on the last drive? I saw him complete 7 of 8 passes in that final drive to go on and win the game. All I hear is Christian McCaffrey. He does
McCaffrey
this, he does
played
that.
enormous.
David,
McCaffrey played enormous.
David, let me tell you Christian McCaffrey, the times he got the ball in that final drive. Running carry for 2 yards, carry for 3 yards, carry for no gain. Credit to McCaffrey, 6-yard game-winning touchdown, okay? But we cannot just act like Brock Purdy did nothing on that game-winning drive. He was 7 of 8 completions. He got the ball 8 times. Christian McCaffrey got the ball 4 times. Brock Purdy led them down the field on that last drive and won them the game. And you cannot fight me on that because I saw a quarterback in Buffalo who needed to do the exact same thing and could not do it. And Brock Purdy did it.
You know, I'm having an eye operation in February because I'm partially blind, right? You need to come and have an ear operation to help your hearing out. Do you know why?
What was I hearing incorrectly?
Because you can't listen to real facts, and the real facts are the only reason Brock Purdy could do that game-winning drive was his defense kept him in it because he was playing such a dog of a game. And they gave him the confidence. Listen, let me finish. They gave him the confidence to be able to do it. If he didn't have that defense, they would have been down who knows what, right? Who knows what, right?
David.
So that's the only reason Brock Purdy could do it is because they gave him the confidence. He is a hack.
David, listen, I hate to tell you this, but you're moving the goalposts against Brock Purdy. And look, David, at the start of the show, we were talking about Josh Allen and his shortcomings. And the question,
Josh Allen,
David,
comparing Josh Allen, no. Comparing Josh Allen to Brock Purdy, right, is like comparing, as the old saying goes.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Listen, but David, this is not. I'm not talking about the players themselves. Okay. You asked me a question at the start of this show, David, and that question was: is football a team game? And what was my answer? It is a team game. So why are we going to say
Josh?
So why are we going to say no, David? I am giving them the exact same treatment because I saw Josh Allen. His defense gave him the ball.
Let's just stop on Josh. All right.
David,
Josh's team lost it, and Brock. I don't want to hear your point because you're wrong. Right? Josh's team lost it. Josh played great. Brock Purdy's team won it, and Brock played terrible. That's the absolute facts, Luka, and you need to get it into your head and listen David, properly, or you're going for an ear operation to fix your hearing. It's as simple as that, Luka.
So, David, did Brock Purdy go 7 of 8 completions on the final drive of the game? Yes or no?
Yes, he did, and that was his only
Yes.
decent drive. That was his only decent drive of the game because his defense gave him the confidence to do it. Okay, so
Okay.
we'll agree on that.
Okay. David, Josh Allen got the ball when it was 24-27.
I told you to stop talking about Josh. Let's move on.
But can you
Okay?
let me
No,
listen?
no,
I
no,
want
no,
to.
no. I've got
No,
to go. I've got people talk.
David,
I've got people
David, this
calling
is
me
important.
wanting my tips for today because they know that I'm the best tipster in the
Yeah,
NFL.
and you tipped the Buffalo Bills since the beginning of time, and each year I tell you not to tip them, and you keep tipping them
No,
and not listening to me. David,
I
these
tipped
are
the
the
San
facts.
Francisco
No,
49ers. I tipped the 49ers to win at the start of the season. You know that. And I had a bet on the Bills at $34, which was still a good bet. Okay? So I am not wrong. I am right. Okay?
David,
You are
we're
wrong.
a show. David, we're a show that is fairness and hears both sides of the argument, okay? You are telling me that Brock Purdy's defense won him the game. Brock Purdy's
Correct.
defense gave him the ball 21-27 down in the fourth quarter and said, Brock, we need a touchdown to go win this game. What did Brock do? Brock went, okay, I will go score a touchdown. Josh Allen's defense forced a fumble on the 1 yard line. Kansas City were about to go up 10 points. Josh Allen had the ball on his own 25-yard line, and they said, Josh, go score me a touchdown. Josh said, no, I'm going to give it to the field goal kicker, and the field goal kicker missed. The exact same. The defenses both gave their quarterbacks a chance to win. One quarterback went down the field and scored a touchdown. The other quarterback forced a field goal and missed the field goal and lost his team the game, David. Those are the real facts of this game. Those are the real facts, and you cannot fight me on those because that is what really happened here. Brock Purdy, when his team needed him the most, he stepped up and won the game. I'm not going to penalise Brock
It was
Purdy's
only
defense,
because Green
just like
Bay
I'm
was
not
out on their
penalising
feet.
Josh
Green
Allen's
Bay were out on
defense.
their feet. Green Bay are out on their feet, and they're a young team, and they've just had enough. All right, San Francisco are seasoned, and they just wore them down with their defense. You've got no idea. All right? You need to get a new job because you don't have a clue.
David, the Kansas City Chiefs scored the touchdown at the very start of the fourth quarter, and then the Buffalo Bills
You
continued.
keep going on about that
And
game. You need to watch the replay of this podcast because you are just fixated with Josh. Okay, move on.
David, listen, all I'm saying is you're
Move
telling me
on.
that the San Francisco defense wore out the Green Bay Packers. I saw the Buffalo defense get 3 straight stops on Patrick Mahomes and wore him out too. Listen, David, at the end of the day, you might not want to face the reality of the situation, but the reality of the
Ah,
situation is that I saw Brock Purdy go down and get a game-winning touchdown drive, and I did not see Josh Allen do the same thing. We're quickly going to cap off the show with Tampa Bay and Detroit because the Lions have gone to their first NFC Championship game since 1992. Jared Goff, 30 of 43 completions, 287 yards, 2 touchdowns. Baker Mayfield, 26 of 41. 349 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 17-17 at the beginning of the fourth quarter, David. The Lions outscored the Bucks 14-6. Mayfield throws an interception on the first drive and the last drive of the game. David, same question. Did Jared Goff silence the haters with this victory and going on to the NFC Championship game to face Brock Purdy?
firstly, well done to the Detroit Lions. They've had a couple of very few tough years in the NFL and in their hometown with a recession and all sorts of things going on in Detroit. So well done to them. Look, I'm happy for Goff. Firstly, to start with Baker Mayfield, who I do not rate and I don't think should be playing the NFL, but he had his best season ever. So well done to him.
Payday
He
for
had a great
Baker.
season. Yeah, he had a great season, and he deserves to get a pay rise. And I am happy for him because he was the number 1 draft pick in 2016. He's been to 4 different teams, had a roller coaster ride, hasn't stood up, but this year, good season. Well done to him. I don't get everyone that plays against Goff knows. Well done again. Well done to Goff because he was broken after the Rams, as I said before. McVay broke him, and the coaches broke him, and he came there a shattered man. They rebuilt him, and they've done a great job. Now he's had a great season, flying under the radar. But McVay, seriously, if you're listening, I'm allowed to say this. You coached like a dick when you played the Lions. And again, the Buccaneers simply got out-coached, right, by the Lions. Because if you look at the Rams game, Goff went 6 of 31 incompletions when pressured, and was either 21 of 21 or 31 of 31 when no pressure. Okay, now you know that stat.
21
I
of
don't know.
21.
21 of 21.
Yeah,
No pressure.
sorry, if I just correct you, so he was 21 of 27 for the whole game against the Rams. 21 of 21 was no pressure, and 0 for 6 was with pressure.
Right, I knew my stats were wrong. I knew to get them right. But I was ringing you during that game saying, why won't McVay put more pressure on Goff and blitz more and put pressure? And it was me at the start of every game against the Lions, I would blitz and just put that much pressure on Goff, he'll fold up. Now, the Buccaneers didn't put enough pressure on Goff again. But it will be a different story this week against the 49ers, which is going to bring Goff unstuck. And the 49ers are a money-back guarantee bet because the defense is that good. Goff will fold. So, yes, Goff's had a great season, but he will never be in the same echelon as a Mahomes, as a Josh Allen, as a
Stop it.
Tom Brady. You've got to look at when Matt Stafford went to the Rams, and I declared the Rams that season, as you know, and everyone cleaned up around the world at $13 because I knew the Rams had the right team and the right coach, and Stafford was the right guy. Okay? Goff is flawed with nerves. Okay? Now, that might get better as you get older because me being the ripe old age of 42 knows that as you get older, your nerves subside a little bit. Okay, so this week will be different. They'll get beat, but Josh has had a great season, and once he overcomes his nerves, who knows what could happen. But I'm very, very happy for the Lions to make the NFC Championship game. It's fantastic for them, fantastic for their town, fantastic for everything. Great season. That's it for me, over and out.
Yeah, listen, David, I like that little Josh Allen comment you threw in there, which was funny considering we said we weren't going to talk about him anymore. But Jared Goff's been to 1 Super Bowl, Josh Allen's been to 0, so I'll just leave that there. Listen, David, I've looked at this game and we both understand that the biggest flaw with Goff is he can't play under pressure, and that ultimately is why he got traded from the Rams. So, what has Detroit done to accommodate Jared Goff's skill set? They have gone out and given him, I think, because of this playoff run, I would say the best offensive line in the entire league, that when the pressure gets dialed up, they don't let the pressure get to him. And I thought last week I agreed with you that it was McVay's fault for not dialing up the pressure, which I still agree with to an extent. But this week, I saw Tampa Bay, they did dial up the pressure, but the offensive line played so well, they could not really get to Goff when it mattered the most, and they gave him the time that he needed to stay in the pocket and pick the defense apart. And after watching this Detroit game, that is why I'm somewhat scared for them to go to San Francisco and play the 49ers. Because Tampa Bay has some of the best blitz packages in the entire NFL. The Eagles has a top 3 offensive line. And I know the Eagles were defeated, but Tampa Bay pressured the absolute daylights out of Jalen Hurts, who his offensive line I thought was better than Jared Goff's until I saw what just happened this past weekend. So at the end of the day, David, if the pressure cannot actually get to Goff, no matter how much pressure there is, Jared Goff has got a chance to make people think twice about this trade, to right the wrongs. And there would be no better storyline, maybe ever, in the history of the NFL, for Jared Goff to be banished from LA and go win a Super Bowl for the Detroit Lions, who have been one of the most sorry franchises in the NFL for the past 30 years. You could not write a script any better than that. But I saw Jared Goff twice in the fourth quarter. The pressure did get to him, and I saw him make a big throw to Amon-Ra St. Brown on 3rd and 15, which he completed, and I saw him make another big throw on 2nd down that he completed when he had pressure twice in the fourth quarter. Because at some point, David, the Detroit Lions offensive line, no matter how good they are, the pressure's going to come once or twice at some point, and he stepped in there and he made the throws. Now, as the stage gets bigger, he may get more nervous. We don't know. That could happen, but he's been to an NFC championship game before with the Rams, and he has won it. So we're not just going to act like he's never been on this stage before, and he won that, even though it was a very controversial win against New Orleans. He went and did it on the road. So he has been in this situation before, which I think is very important to understand.
Two things, right? Jared Goff's got a terrific arm, okay? That's why he was number 1 overall draft pick, okay? 2016. So there's no question about how good he can play. It's in his head. Now, Dan Campbell has done a wonderful job and his coaching staff, right, with Goff, okay? They've done a wonderful job. They rebuilt him. Time will tell. The next 2 weeks, it's only 3 weeks, but that's going to tell whether Goff is up to it. Unfortunately, Luka, you're a young man, and dreams rarely come true, okay? So I don't want the Lions to win because I'm on the 49ers, but it would be a good Hollywood script.
It would be.
It's all in the head. He's got the arm to win a Super Bowl, okay? But has he got the mental strength? Or will he go back to when he folded up at the Rams because they broke him and get some little niggles in his head and thinking, I can't beat Mahomes or I can't beat Lamar because I'm not good enough. He is good enough, but it's mental. Okay?
Yeah.
And Dan Campbell, he's as tough as nails. I'd hate to run into him in a dark alley, okay? Because he's a big monster with a lot of aggression. So, he says the wrong thing to Goff might go have a cheery because we know Goff is soft, okay, mentally soft. So
yeah,
that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, listen, David, I'm excited for these championship games. I'm excited to see who our Super Bowl matchup is. We still both have our teams who we have getting to the Super Bowl still in, which is good to see. Predictions are becoming true for the most part. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is all for Priceless Takes episode 49. David and I will be back later in the week for our official championship game predictions. We will see you guys then. David, thank you for joining me on the show today. It was a pleasure having you.
Go Josh Allen next year.
Listen, make sure, ladies and gentlemen, remember to follow us on our social media. We're on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube if you aren't watching it on YouTube already under the Priceless Takes handle. Daily content we post. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Luca Price, and we will see you next time.